Mr. Bean concentrating on trigonometry there. Oh, I hated those people before exams. They were like, this is coming up. Did you study this? Oh.
Yeah.
Well, to hear us, tell us what might be coming up is Louise Boylan from the Institute of Education. Louise, remind us, please, what is the format and duration of Maths Higher Level Paper 2?
How you doing? So Maths Paper 2 is 2.5 hours. It's in 2 sections, Section A, Section B. They carry equal weight, so 50% each. Section A is what we call the short questions, but they're not like short answer questions. They're just shorter than the longer questions. You have to answer 5 out of 6 there. And then in Section B, they're the longer questions. You have to answer 3 out of 4.
Okay. Section A, the drill and skills section.
Yeah.
Tell me about this. What are the type of questions that are typically asked here?
Yeah, so the topics that are on paper 2 are, we've got probability and statistics, which are 2 massive ones. Then we have geometry, which leads into coordinate geometry of the line and the circle. And then we have trigonometry, which is also enormous. So the section A is 6 questions, and it would be a spread of all of those topics. Anything can be anywhere. They tend to kind of keep in their own lane a little bit. Like you might have a link between probability and statistics. You wouldn't really have a link between statistics and geometry, say, right? So you might link geometry and trigonometry, and then the coordinate geometry ones would probably be linked together as well. But of the 6 questions, there's no agreed of what is where, and it's a free for all. And you just go in and you do the 5 that you like the look of.
And there are specific areas on this exam paper for filling in your answers. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so all of the maths exam is a fill in the blanks exam. So you just get your booklet, your question is there, and then there's a space underneath the question to fill in. And it gives the students an idea as well of how much of an answer you're looking for. So and sometimes it's just one calculation and it's just a little box and you just write in the number. Sometimes it's a whole blank page. Yeah.
What are the things that tend to come up and again every year? Like, are there any bankers that students can count on coming up?
Well, for paper 2, something like hypothesis testing and statistics is very, very common. I won't say it's there every year, but it has been there pretty much every year. Something like trigonometry, I mean, they're absolutely going to be given a triangle where they have to find a missing side or a missing angle. So that was what I would call my students' basic skills. You have to be able to take any triangle put in front of you, find missing sides, missing angles, using all the different kind of formulae. For probability, then we've got things like Bernoulli trials, that's there quite often. Expected value can come up quite a lot. Something called the normal curve, which is in both probability and statistics, again, very, very popular with the examiner. So make sure they know that going in. With the geometry, there can be a proof. There are 3 proofs in the geometry. They're not there every year. I wouldn't get in a tizzy about them, but they should know them just in case one is there, because it'll be worth 15 marks maybe. And then for coordinate geometry, the line, that's quite a broad topic. Coordinate geometry, the line, the circle go hand in hand. There's a lot in there, and really anything can pop up.
Section B then is your longer questions, and these are where they're the more story-like questions. So I have one here that was asked previously. It's John bought a car years ago. The table below gives an estimate of the probability that each of the following 3 events will happen to John's car in the next year. So they're talking about things like the head gasket blows, the timing belt goes, and air filters break. Now, important thing to stress here is you don't need to know what a head gasket is. You just need to know the probability of what it will, if it will blow up or not.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's a big thing for this exam, is because a lot of the questions in section B are in a story, particularly the statistics questions, and the students really need to not be thrown off by whatever's the story. Like in this, as you say, something about a timing belt and a head gasket. It doesn't matter if they don't know what those terms are. They just need to work through to look at what information do I have, what information do I want, how can I link those 2 things.
Okay. Andy was mentioning there how important timing is in geography. In maths is a similar case, that you can only should spend a certain amount of time on each question. Yeah,
definitely. So you've got 2 sections, as I say, they carry equal marks. So in your section A, you're doing 5 questions. A general rule of thumb for the maths is your time on your question should be half of the marks for the question. So a 30-mark question, you're looking at 15 minutes, but that's the absolute upper end of how much you should allow. So what I would say is 12 minutes for each of the questions in section A. That gives you a full hour because there's 5 questions at 12 each. For section B, you're doing 3 questions, aim for 20 minutes each. Then that gives you half an hour to spare at the end to go back, fill in bits that you missed. What they really need to be careful of is not to get bogged down in a question. If a question is starting to get hard and the maths is getting very messy, it's only going to be worth a couple of marks. So just cut and run, go to the next question, start picking up marks on the next question. Then if you have time at the end, come back.
And when it comes to picking up marks, it's very important to show your work, how you got to an answer. Tell me about that.
It's extremely important, and it's even written in the marking scheme that full marks may not be awarded if work is not shown. So they have to show where everything is coming from. So that could be writing down formula, putting the numbers into the formula, but they just can't pluck an answer out of thin air. And some of them might be inclined, particularly if it's a formula, to just pick up the calculator and throw all the numbers into the calculator and write down the answer that they get. But if the examiner can't see where that answer came from, they may not get full marks.
Are there other things to watch out for in section 2?
Just to keep your energy up, you know, and to keep going. There's sometimes the questions within the one question might be linked. So maybe you're looking to find something in part A and then you have to carry that on to part B. But then oftentimes as you keep going, it'll be like a fresh start. So you get to part C. Now you don't need anything that was in A and B to keep going. And it's really important that the students don't get disheartened if they're travelling through a question and they suddenly get stuck and they think, oh gosh, I'm not sure what that bit means. Some of them can be inclined to go, okay, that's it, I'm going to ditch question 7, but just keep going because it's often a fresh start and you don't need prior information to continue on with the question. So yeah.
And then paper 1 is going to be on the Friday. Paper 2 is going to be on the Monday. You're quite adamant here. Don't spend your weekend doing a postmortem of paper 1.
Absolutely. This is hugely important, and we've seen it year on year. And what I always say to mine, don't let your paper 1 experience affect your paper 2 performance. That's really, really important. So if they have a paper 1 on the Friday and say it's tricky, first of all, it's tricky for everybody in the country, right? Yeah. So if you come out and I say to mine, if you come out and you're crying and everybody's crying, you're laughing because it's grand. They have to tweak the marking scheme and it'll be fine. If everybody's crying, if you're the only one crying, maybe just put the head down. Yeah. But if paper 1 is tricky or challenging, or there's a few bits in there where you go, oh, I didn't quite get that bit, just let it go. It doesn't, just leave it. It's done. You can't go back in time. There's nothing to be gained by overthinking it over the weekend. And, you know, we hear this anecdotally every year. Oh, she spent all the whole weekend crying because paper 1 was so hard. And then they didn't really put in much time for paper 2 because they were too busy fixating on what happened in paper 1. So whether paper 1 was too hard, let it go. If it was a nice, lovely paper, don't sit back and go, sure, that's grand, then paper 2 is going to be a dawdle. It doesn't work that way, right? They're written by 2 different people for a start. So it doesn't work that way. So just take them as 2 separate exams. They just do need to be prepared that there can be a little bit of crossover, you know, so, and some things to look out for. So say paper 1, trigonometry graphs will often be there in paper 1. If they do paper 1 and there's no trigonometry graphs, then I may put a little bit of attention to that for paper 2 because they're a common topic. If it wasn't on paper 1, it might be on paper 2. Sometimes little bits of calculus will pop up on paper 2 as well. It might just pop in for 5 marks or 10 marks. So just to make sure as well, they don't like empty their heads over the weekend and wash out all their paper 1 stuff, because something can pop up on paper 2 that was on paper, or that wasn't on paper 1.
You're also saying that people should note that paper 2 is a morning exam. Tell me about why they should know that.
Yeah, this is super important. So the paper 1 exam is on the Friday afternoon. Paper 2 is on Monday morning. So they literally bookend the weekend. So it's very important because anecdotally that if you have only one exam and you're not really paying full attention on that morning, I have heard of students who have thought just the exam was on the afternoon because paper 1 was on the afternoon, so it must be on the afternoon, and then suddenly wake up and it's 10 o'clock and realise they've missed their paper 2. It has happened 100%.
And you don't get let into the exam hall if you're late, don't you?
No, I was only saying this to my students. I said it's not like going to a concert. You can't just rock up when it suits you. You know, you have to be there. The doors are closed. You can't be causing disruption. You have to be there when it starts. I think there's a 5-minute leeway, something like that, to come in. Okay. And that's it. Done. Okay.
Well, yeah. Then make sure your alarm is set. Maybe set an extra alarm then.
Yes, and have the timetable on the fridge.